All right, welcome to part 2 of the 32-inch light bar installation on my 2014 Sierra. I just got done mounting this Auxbeam V-Series LED light bar right behind the grill. I don't know if you can see it there. I think it came out pretty nice. I'm going to link to the first video right here in case you're just getting here. But if you're continuing on, then you know what we need to do now is run the wires, hook it up, test it out. Okay, I've got 2 helpers here with me. I've got Keith and Connor, and they're always appreciated out here in the garage with me. Okay, so what we're going to do is continue on installing this. But again, if you're just getting here and you need to see how to remove the valance piece and the grill and how I mounted it, check out the first video. Okay, all right, let's get started. Okay, we need to replace this top cover here. Okay, in the first video I showed how to remove these trim clips. Basically these rise up and you pop them out. But again, if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend that you check that out and then come back and visit us in this video. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get all of these in. There were 12 of them, I believe. Okay. Alright, so in the previous video I showed that I started putting everything in wire loom here. On another video where I installed a similar light bar, a V-Series Auxbeam 52-inch on a 98 Silverado, I had the Bluetooth controller mounted out front here. Ultimately that did not work because my Bluetooth communication was shaky from inside the cab. And it wasn't the distance, it's the amount of material that I was trying to transmit through. So with that said, I'm going to try to feed the wire loom on the inside between that fuse box and the fender, and I'm going to try to find a spot down in here out of the way of the hinge for that Bluetooth control, and I'll just use that double stick Velcro again. Okay, the other thing I need to do is I need to get power to it. So rather than run over there where the battery is and the power, I came over here because I need to get into the cab with the switches, and I think it's going to be easier to get in over here, and I can always run power. Alright, here's what I've decided to do. I'm going to extend the positive. I'm going to use that 14 gauge wire there. I'm going to come right in on that terminal, and I'm going to either try to run it right in the same wire loom, which runs along the top of the firewall there, or I will zip tie it, or possibly even run my own wire loom. But ideally, if it'll fit, I don't know what gauge cable that is, I'll just run it right in that same wire loom, and then I'll jump out over here in the corner where we're actually at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the eyelet off the existing setup, and I'm going to put it onto this, and we'll run that wire. Okay, let me show you how I splice that in real quick. I'm just trying to do everything nice and neat, so and I'm trying to show more detail. That's why it's a 2-video series. Alright, so I don't have any eyelets like this, so here's what I'm going to do. You can do it a couple of different ways. I'm just going to do it, I'm just going to snip it right off. And I'm actually going to, I could use connectors, or I could solder it and use shrink tubing, which is what I'm inclined to do, just so it's nice and neat, and there's nothing that would prevent me from getting in that wire loom. So let me get my wire, and we'll connect them up here. Okay, so I'm just going to put a piece of shrink tubing on here. And again, you can use any mechanism you want. You could use little connectors, or you could just go buy, you know, an eyelet like that. I don't have one. There's a million. You could actually just wedge this under the nut on the terminal. I mean, anything would work. I'm just going this route because I like to use shrink tubing, and I'm trying to do a little cleaner job than I did on the Silverado. I wasn't real happy with sort of the end. Well, the end result came out okay. I wasn't real happy with how I showed it in the video, okay? But I did a lot of cleanup afterwards, so I thought this time I would do 2 videos and make it neat, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to hit that with a piece of solder real quick. Not necessary. Again, if we just drop that shrink tubing down over that, that's going to it's going to be fine, but Okay, let me pop the cover back on, and then what we're going to do, I'm really thinking I'm just going to zip tie it to that wire loom along the back. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just taking my time and actually trying to make sure that the wire ends up on the back side of that wire loom. So not a big deal if you see it, but just trying to put a little extra effort into making sure that you don't, type of thing. Alright, so you can see the wire is pretty much totally hidden until we get to where we need to be anyways, okay? Now for this end, I'm going to use disconnects, these bullet disconnects. That way if I ever need to remove it, I don't have to remove that entire wire, I can just disconnect it, okay? So on the hot side, or the side that has the power, you want to use this one so it's not so likely to ground out on something, okay? So let me strip the ends of those two wires and get them connected, then we'll ground it out and give it a try. Alright, you don't want to over crimp it or it'll actually pull right off, okay? So now we need to do that to the other side. Give it a tug, it's on there good. And again, on the hot side, use this one because it's not as easy to ground out, where this one, obviously, if it was hot and we hit metal, we'd be grounding out, okay? And remember, this is hot right now because I didn't unhook the battery. So don't touch metal while you're doing it. That's actually a little bit long. I'm just going to snip a little bit off the edge here. Alright, let me run the wires, and then we got to figure out where we're going to ground this thing. I may have to drill a hole and put a bolt on the inside of the fender like I did on the Silverado. Alright, what I've done here temporarily is I've just grounded out to the hood hinge with some vice grips. I've got the bullet connector hooked up. I just want to make sure it works here before we move on to the next phase, which is putting these switches in the cab. And again, I don't know if I want to drill into my dash. So I've ordered a little box to mount these in. It's going to be like a remote, but it's not in yet. So I might get to the point where these aren't mounted at the end of the video. Yeah, that thing is bright. Holy smokes. But standing up is not too bad, so that's good. It's shooting out plenty bright. I think it looks awesome. Alright, let's move on to the next step. We got to get these switches in the cab. And on this vehicle, we have some options. I've watched some videos, I've read in the forums, and a lot of people have fought with it. Where we're supposed to go is right there. And there's a box on the inside that we'd have to remove. There's also a gasket that kind of gets in the way, and there's a bundle of wires in there. Now, some people have pulled cable through the emergency brake where the emergency brake cable goes. But I don't think I really want to do that because we have 5 cables to pull. Okay, so let's open up the door and take a look at the option 3 here. Alright, so we're looking inside the driver's side door here, and if you can see right there, there's a plug. And what we want to do is make a small slit in that. I'm going to cut the wires this time. We're in the Silverado. I drove the jack right through, but I'm going to cut the wires so we can actually get it through as inintrusive as possible. So, alright, so I decided to go on the inside of the fender wall, and the reason being is because I might be able to push some 1/4-inch wire loom down over those wires, whereas if I squeeze in between the fender and the body, there's really no room for like wire loom or anything, and this one comes out closer to where we need to be anyways. If you look at where that plug is, right there, and the coat hanger obviously is going in right there. So I've got it hooked to the small wire. I figure we'll give it a shot and see what happens here. And it looks like there's a wire attached, if you can believe it. Oh my word, look at that. Nice. Alright, let's do the next one. Now the thing is, to get it through this, I suppose I wouldn't have to cut the ends off, but I really just want to make a small slit in it and feed the wires. And if I leave the ends on it, I'm not going to be able to do that. Alright, let's get the next one, see if we have as good a luck with the next one. Alright, you can see here what I'm doing is I've just made like a hook. I put the wire in, but I've also fed the wire in through that furthest hole and back out through this largest hole. So in the end, the wire is going to feed in through that smaller hole closer to the firewall, okay? But in order to hook it up, I brought it through the larger hole. So I went into that one, out to that one, and I came out of that one with the coat hanger, and then I'm just clipping onto it. This one's probably not going to make it through the other side as easily, but let's give it a shot. Okay, this one's caught. Let me go check it out. Okay. So honestly, the end is going to be cut off anyway, so if I have too many issues here, I'm just going to cut that. And it's definitely not squeezing through like the other one did. Oh, I've got it right there. I don't know if you can see it. And there it is. Nice. Alright. Not too bad. Alright, let me set the camera down, regroup. I'll be right back. Okay, this is the game plan. There's no way that I'm going to be able to get that in there, and even when it gets through, there's a lot of things to get hung up on the inside. So I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to leave myself plenty of slack so I can splice it back together, and I'm even going to cut this one off. It's a lot smaller wire. I might not even have shrink tubing for this, but I'm going to cut these off. I'm going to leave myself, you know, a good amount. So I have plenty to put back together. I'm going to fish these through, and then when we get back into the truck, we're going to put them back together. Alright, let me get a little razor knife. I'm just going to cut a small slit in that little piece of rubber, and then I'm going to silicone it when we get it all said and done. Alright, I actually popped that plug right out. That's what it looks like. And actually it'll be easier to see too. I'll be able to see daylight from underneath. So I should be able to see where the wires come from. So what I'm actually going to do is just puncture it with this dentist pick. A slit would leave it like, it'd be more susceptible to tear, right? If you cut it and then you pull wire through it. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to feed the wire through first, get it all the way in there, and then pop the plug back in. And I may even silicone it. I don't think, it doesn't seem like any weather gets there or water. It definitely doesn't seem like it. But I think, you know, so I don't have to worry about it. Alright, let me go ahead and continue on here, and I'll check back in with you here when I've made some progress. Alright, let's see if we can give you a shot of where that plug comes through. I think you can see it right there. Right there, you see the wires coming through. And I've got the emergency brake in. So you set the emergency brake, and you're obviously looking right in front of the pedal and kind of up there. And the coat hanger is your friend. I'm going to back out so you can see where we're looking here. Okay, I went in just like this and up. Okay, when you feed in, try to feed down and then use your coat hanger. Alright, I'm going to pull these through. I'm going to feed them up under the dash nice and neat, make sure it doesn't interfere with any pedals, and put my ends back on. Alright, I just want to check in with you here. You can see I'm splicing things back together. I've got some shrink tubing there, and then I've got a larger piece of shrink tubing that will slide over and cover the whole thing. I need to do the same with these 3 wires. Then we'll get back to this. We've got to do a permanent ground. We've got a relay that we should mount. I want to tidy everything up as far as the wires go, and I might slide some wire loom over those wires that we slid inside of the fender. Okay, let me finish up on the wiring on the inside of the cab, then we'll get out here and tidy it up. Then it'll be just about dark. Probably we'll go try it out. You can see the other bar there on the plow truck. Looks cool. Alright, let's take a quick look at everything before we take it outside and test it. I really do like the bar placement. I think it's awesome. I've got it on the red right now. If it was on the white, it would be blind. I tied it into the power over here. You can't even see it. I ran along that wire loom. You can see it right there, just a hint of the red. Down here, I've got the Bluetooth controller tucked to the right-hand side of this fuse box. I'm not sure if that's where it's going to live. I did put some shrink tubing over those butt end connectors just to kind of weatherproof it and make sure it would never ground out. I could always remove it. I mounted the relay in the ground right there. There was already a hole for it. I just made it a little bit larger. And of course we use wire loom all over. Okay, let's come over here. And we poked through that little opening there. Okay, and I think this was probably the easiest way to get in the cab. Came down here into that plug. Probably can't see it now because it's kind of dark. Went underneath the dash, and there's my controls. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a little handheld that's going to live in this pocket over here. You can see I've got my footwell LED remote, got my controller, my IR sensor, and I'm just going to have another little handheld remote with these 2 buttons mounted on it. And I'll be able to turn my LEDs or off and on, or adjust the color with a little handheld. And there's plenty of wire. That's the thing I really love about Auxbeam. There's all kinds of wire, right? I could stand outside the vehicle and do it even. So you got to check them out, auxbeam.com. This light is awesome, the V-Series, okay? Let's go outside and let's see what it looks like outside. Alright, what I thought I'd do is just run through the presets using the button. I've got the button right here, the on-off switch is right here, and I'm just going to run through them. Pretty intense against the white garage door. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test out the Bluetooth functionality, and I already have actually. The thing is, the Bluetooth placement is fine. So this is sort of the default screen, and I showed this in another video. I'll link to the end at the end of this one. But the thing I didn't go into is this little button down here. You have other presets that you can go into. Okay. There's all kinds of functionality. Now if you long press on any one of these, you can kind of configure your own. So I may end up doing just a video on the Bluetooth functionality. I haven't even gotten the music player to work for me yet. I haven't spent much time on it either though. So that's something I want to try out. I'm watching through the screen here, so forgive me. So yeah, you gotta play around with this. This is one of those apps that you can do all kinds of things with. If I long press, these would say DIY. You can actually rotate through as you move your finger along the color spectrum. The light actually changes, which is super killer. It's really responsive too, right? I mean, as soon as I hit one of these colors, now if I want to add it to my color palette, I just click that. Okay, now it's going to cycle between those colors. Go up here to change it. If I want to go to a different color spectrum. This is pretty cool. Alright, so what we're going to do here is go down the driveway and check out the intensity of the light sort of while we're driving. Alright, let's see what kind of a difference it makes driving down an unlit road and suddenly Sasquatch runs out in front of you. Huh? No question about it, you'd be able to see him. This light is awesome. Check out Auxbeam.com. I love this light. It's got Bluetooth capabilities, all kinds of functionality that we haven't even gone into yet. I'll probably do a follow-up video on this and my Silverado, just to show how I finished off the buttons and or the switches rather. And on the Silverado specifically, the firewall, I want to show how I finished that off. Let's go out on the main drag here. Unreal. You wouldn't want to be an oncoming car with this light on. Okay, hey, thanks for watching. Give me that thumbs up if you found this helpful at all. And hit that subscribe button if you want to see more of this type of stuff. Leave questions and comments below. And again, if you're just coming into this video and you didn't see the first one, I'm going to link to that right here, as well as another installation video on an Auxbeam light bar. And you got to check them out, auxbeam.com. Thanks for watching. Have fun and take it easy.